Well, all right. I don't know if the series is going to be any good, but I love the music. Do it already. Hey, do something with me. Can you thank Mr. Aaron Buer for opening the scriptures the last couple weeks for us? So grateful. I just want to welcome those of you worshiping with us at other campuses. And today we get to kick off a brand new midwinter series, and it's called Correcting Spiritual Drift. And let me begin with this question. How many of you believe in your heart of hearts that you have a good sense of direction? A good sense of, come on, be modest. Yeah, on it, come on. A good sense of direction. Okay, I do. Number of times I'll be walking with Chris, just walking on blocks of some exotic city. I mean, like Istanbul or Lansing, and she'll go, I have no idea where we are. And I kind of go, you know, our hotel is right over there a couple blocks, or our car is right down there. And you know something? I'm almost always right, except for the times when I'm not. All right, so in October, I was bumming a friend's cabin to study for a couple days. I had my bicycle with me. I decided to go out on a bike ride. Now, I was unfamiliar with any of the roads in that area, but that's fine because I have a good sense of direction. Did I mention that? You know it's coming, don't you? Yeah, I know it's coming. So it's a little bit south of here, and there was a main road, kind of a busy road that I wanted to get off of, and the road, and I'm not kidding here, it was called North Avenue, all right? So take off on my bike a little bit, and I take a right-hand turn, go right for a little ways, take another right-hand turn, go several miles, take a left-hand turn, and now I'm way out here, and I come to a busy road, and not a road that I want to travel on, but a road I want to get past. And as I go through that busy road, I look up at the sign in the corner, and it says North Avenue. And the first thing that goes through my mind is, well, that's stupid. Why would they take two roads so close together and give them the exact same name? All right, and then as I continue biking out in that direction, it occurs to me that the county probably would not have allowed that. And so what I begin to ask myself is, why is it that my brain tells me that I'm out here, and how did I get back here? And I'm trying to do the directional math, and I'm going, I took a right, I took another right, I took a left. How am I back at North Avenue? And I did not have my phone with me, all right, to look up, you know, a map or whatever. Now, the truth of the matter, I wasn't here and I wasn't there. I was here. And I'll tell you how I got there. How I got there was this. North Avenue had a little bit of a turn in it, which is false advertising, by the way. And so it went up like this. So the right-hand turn that I took didn't send me east. I was now parallel to North Avenue, heading north. And then I took another right, but that right had a curve in it, which I apparently didn't pay attention to because I was captivated by the rural scenery or something. And then the left that I took me right back here. And so, yes, this is the moment in the message where you would gently bend over to the person next to you and whisper, I know he's our pastor and everything, but we're never following him anywhere. Now, the deal here is that it's not that I ended up like a couple degrees off from where I thought I was. I was in the exact opposite direction of where I thought I was. I thought I was, whether it be southeast, and I was northwest. I was the exact opposite of where I thought I was at that time. I didn't figure this out till I got back, opened my phone, and figured out how messed up I was. Welcome to the nature of directional drift. You take a right, and a little bit of a left, and then a right, and then another left. You kind of look around, you go, where am I? And how on earth did I get here? The opposite direction of where I intended to be. Now, our Bible has an image for this, and it's an image that Jesus used a few times. He called it getting lost. This was the image that Jesus used. In fact, once in giving his own personal mission, he's called himself the Son of Man, and he said, the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost, people who have experienced massive spiritual drift. The Son of Man came to locate and to rescue people who have lost their way. Now, in today's opening message on correcting spiritual drift, I want to introduce you to two characters, and these two characters we're going to be following for a number of weeks together. They dominate the landscape of the first 4 weekends of this series, and the two guys' names are Ahab, and Elijah. Say those two names out loud with me. Ready? Ahab and Elijah. Now, Ahab was a king, and Ahab was also, well, he's kind of a dirtbag. 1 Kings chapter 16, verse 30, it says, Ahab, King Ahab, son of Omri, did more evil in the eyes of the Lord than any of those before him. I mean, there were kings of Israel that drifted, but with this Ahab, son of Omri, king of Israel, we have hit a new low. At this point, it is an all-time spiritual low. Now, I called Ahab a dirtbag, but you need to know something. He's a successful dirtbag. He's an overachiever. He's connected with powerful people. He's strong and his influence is growing. His dad, Omri, the previous king, had built a brand new capital in the city of Samaria, names it Samaria. It's up on a hill. It dominated the trade routes. Those of you with a military background, the city of Samaria was in a forward position, not in a back defensive position, and he is becoming a trade mogul in his area. He is an achiever. He's well connected, he's strong, and he's growing stronger. And Ahab leads his people to an all-time low in spiritual drift, drifting from the people that they had been created to be, drifting from the people they had been chosen to be, and drifting from the people that they had been created, chosen, and called to be. This guy that shows up, guy's name is Elijah. Elijah is a prophet of God. Elijah is like God's megaphone to say, we are so far from where we're supposed to be, and we've got to get back directionally fast. Elijah's job shows up in coarse, basic clothes, camel skin, and this leather belt, shows up to royal, influential, connected Ahab. It says we have got to correct the spiritual drift that we are experiencing. So why are we here? Ancient king and ancient prophet. What could that possibly have to do with us? A little left, a bit of a right, a tweak of a left, a small right. And we wake up one day and we go, where am I? And how did I get here? How did I drift so far from becoming the person I was created to be, I was chosen to be and I was called to be. See, this story about Ahab and Elijah is not only a story that is to us, it's really a story that is about us. It's possible to have a season of life where we are walking in stride with the heart of God, and then to awaken one day and just to go, by degrees, I have drifted so far and I've become the opposite of what I was created to be. So today in this opening message on a very important topic, correcting spiritual drift, I just want to walk through 3 different reminders, 3 things to remember when we realize that we've drifted and we want to try to find our journey home. So 3 things to remember right out of the gate in this conversation about spiritual drift. And the first thing we want to remember has to do with this, and it's simply that we were rescued for a reason. Just say that with me, rescued for a reason. Really, rescued for a reason. Now, I'm gonna do something right now. It's gonna take about 5 minutes, because there's a tendency right now to be able to go, okay, once upon a time, there was a bad king by the name of Ahab, and he surfaces out of nowhere. But the story is well underway by the time we get to Ahab. Some of y'all watch Netflix series, right? If you want to watch a series, you start season 1, episode 1, and kind of move on from there. When we open our Bible to the story of Ahab, this is like season 5, episode 8. And so the gift that I'm going to give you today, it's unbelievable. The gift that I'm going to give you today is to give you the entire story of the Bible up to the time of Ahab in 5 minutes. You're welcome. Now, just hang on a second, I need to stretch. We're gonna be running really, really fast, so hang on just a second, and we're gonna have a timer, and in 5 minutes, the story of the Bible. This is like on a show where they go, in previous episodes. Okay, that's what you're about to get. You ready? You ready? You mark? Some of you are timing me. Some of you are timing me. You don't have to time me. We're gonna have a timer right on the screen. On your mark, get set, go. Here we go. In the beginning, God creates. And God creates not because he is lonely or bored, but because he is so full that he desires to share himself. And even looking at the beauty of the world around us, we should gather some things about this God, that he is good, that he is creative, that he is generous. God creates out of his fullness because he desires to be known. And then sin enters into the world, the brokenness of the planet, and sin messes with everything. Sin messes with every form of government, with every school, with every company, with every family. Yes, my friends, with every church, and with every human heart. So in this broken planet, God chooses a people. Begins with Abraham. Why does God choose a people? Because he desires to be known. He's gonna say, listen, watch the way I bless them, and that's how I will bless those who follow me and listen to me. And so there's a guy by the name of Abraham. He lives way over here in Ur. God says, leave your family, leave your people, just follow me, go to a land I will show you. And Abraham moves up in here to the area of Canaan. He has a son by the name of Isaac. Isaac has a son by the name of, but Jacob has another name. Jacob is also called, which means that Jacob's sons are the sons of Jacob, or the children of Israel. The Israelites come from this family tree. Now, Jacob gives one of those 12 sons a coat that is a very decorative coat. His brothers hate his guts, sell him as a slave down here into Egypt. Later, this Joseph guy rises to power. There's a famine in Canaan. The whole family migrates down. He forgives his brothers and rescues the family from ruin. And rather than starving out in this famine, they prosper in Egypt, and they grow and grow until there comes a Pharaoh who decides to enslave that people. And the next era is the era of slavery. building Pharaoh's slave cities. Then the Creator God comes to a shepherd by the name of Moses. He's shepherding his sheep. He sees this bush that's kind of like on fire, but it's not consumed. And the voice says, take off your shoes. This is holy ground. I want you to know I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Generations have come, generations went. I have not forgotten you. Go back and tell the children of Israel, the Israelites, that I have remembered them and I have come to rescue them. And Moses says, well, what's your name? I mean, the gods of Egypt, there's Isis and there's Amun-Ra, and you would worship Pharaoh, the God of our ancestors. Who are you? And the name that God gives in Hebrew, it's the name Yahweh. And the word Yahweh, we translate it, I am. I am the one who is. I am that I am. Yahweh, Yahweh, a derivative of it, Jehovah or Jehovah. The way this is often translated in your Bible, I don't have the seconds to tell you why, is capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. When you open the Old Testament of your Bible and you see the word Lord in all caps, it's the I am. It's the I am, the one who is, that appears to Moses at the burning bush. The next map that we have, Moses leads the people out of Egypt down into the Sinai Peninsula, where the Lord God says, we need to have a define the relationship moment. These are not a well-ordered group of God followers. This is an unruly mob of ex-slaves indoctrinated in generations of Egyptian idol worship. And so here in the Sinai, the Lord God says this, Exodus chapter 20, I am capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. I am the one from the burning bush. I am the I am. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You'll never believe what happens next. It's the first of the 10 commandments. You shall have what? No other gods before me. I want to be your one and only God. I want to be your one and only God. And then they will move here into the land of Canaan, where the trade routes of the world flow through. There is a sea of water here. There is a sea of sand here. It's a path between the seas. It's a land bridge between 3 continents. Egypt is down here, Asia's over here, Europe is up here. You can take a boat somewhere you want to stay on the land. You are passing through Israel. And when people pass through Israel, all of these caravans passing through to trade goods, the idea was that they would see a people that was like no other people. They would have respect for property, thou shalt not steal. They would have respect for marriage, you shall not commit adultery. They would have respect for the aged, honor your father and your mother. They would have respect for life, you shall not kill. And don't bow down to statuary and say, I'm it. They would be unlike anybody else. But there's something that you need to know. They were not only rescued from something, they were rescued for something. They were not only rescued from something, Egypt, they were rescued for something, because the God of the universe, the Creator, desires to be known. And through that strange people, representing that original Creator, people would get a taste of what God created them to be. They were rescued for a reason. Rescued for a reason. Say it with me. They were rescued for a reason. Now, they were rescued from slavery in Egypt. This is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before the time of Jesus. Those of us that look back on the crucifixion, which is a rescue story, and the Son of God comes for us to take our place, to bear our punishment, to pay the debt that we couldn't pay. We enter into a rescue story, and I want to suggest that if you have come to know the saving power of the cross, my dear brothers and sisters, you have been rescued for a reason. What if the Lord your God desires to be known? What if there are trade routes that pass through your life? People at work, friend group, school, your kids. And what if the miracle isn't just that you invite God into your life? What if the miracle is that God invites you into his? What if the miracle is that God said, I want to glow in you so powerfully that while I am invisible, people will get a taste of my mercy and my goodness and my generosity and my creativity because they bumped into your life, my friends. We have been rescued for a reason. Just right now, here and now, I just want to say there's all kinds of reasons to correct spiritual drift. Man, when we drift spiritually, we can screw up our lives in all kinds of areas. We can disrupt our relationships. We can destroy the people that we intended to love. But above that is just this tragedy that when we drift spiritually and don't find our way back home, we forget that we were rescued for a reason. One of the greatest tragedies is not just that it messes with our pleasure and our joy and our peace. One of the greatest tragedies is that the people traveling through our world and intersecting with us cease to get any sense of the goodness and generosity and creativity with God because our paths have crossed. We were rescued for a reason. And so we come to King Ahab and we just want to go, dude, how's the plan working out? This people that was not like everybody else, unlike anybody else. How's that working out? That no other gods. I want to be your one and only God. Ahab, buddy, how's that working? Reminder number one, we're rescued for a reason. Reminder number two has to do with the seduction of counterfeit gods. The seduction of counterfeit gods. And with what we have just said about God's desire to be known, this desire to share himself, a desire to have a people that would represent him, what we read next should crush us. 1 Kings chapter 16, we read these words. He, Ahab, married Jezebel, daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians. Ahab's capital is down here at Samaria. Sidon, a whole other people, whole other country, it's called Phoenicia, and began to serve Baal or Baal and worship him. Baal was a regional god, so much for the I want to be your one and only God thing. Now, this wasn't just Ahab was out one day, traveled up north on a trip, saw this babe named Jezebel, liked her, married her. This marriage was part of a trade agreement, a trade alliance. And it was what in business back in the day we'd say was a win-win proposition. And the deal is that Sidon, Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, had something that Ahab didn't have, and that was a massive port for shipping. At this time, Sidon and its sister city, Tyre, were dominating Mediterranean shipping industry. But Ahab controlled the inward trade routes, and so it's like through this marriage trade alliance, Ahab gets access to exports through the Mediterranean Sea, and Ethbaal, through the marriage of his daughter to Ahab, gets access to the trade routes that are inland. And so it's a trade deal that we're seeing here. But part of it is he began to serve Baal and worship him. And you're going, you're kidding me. How long do you have to walk from Samaria, your capital, all the way up to Sidon in order to find a Baal altar and a Baal shrine and a statue of Baal? That's an awfully long walk. Well, it is. Next verse. He, Ahab, set up an altar to Baal in the temple of Baal that he had built in Samaria. In his capital on a hill. This Baal worship isn't underground. It's not covert. It's not hidden. Ahab constructs a Baal temple front and center in his capital, statue of Baal in it, sacrifices to Baal right there. Well, anything else? Yeah, Baal had a girlfriend, Asherah, so they said. And so you'd have a Baal temple, and next to it was something called an Asherah pole. So you would go there and worship the god and the goddess. And so the next verse says, Ahab also made an Asherah pole. He did more to arouse the anger of the I Am. The one who said, I am the I Am who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. He did more to arouse the anger of the I Am of the Lord, the God of Israel, than all the kings of Israel before him. Walk through the capital of Samaria in the days of Ahab and Jezebel. Stop by a house where a guy has just left the farm, the orchard, and has come in, and he's about to have dinner with his family. Press your ear to the window as they say grace, and you hear the words, give thanks to Baal, for he is good. His love endures forever. I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my strength come from? My strength comes from Baal, the one who sends rain to the ground. Baal is like the fertility god, the one you trust for your prosperity. It's an artist's rendition here of what an altar to Baal might have looked like. They've actually found old statues and reliefs. One of them looks like this next picture here, and you're thinking like it's a Pledge of Allegiance. No, he's holding a thunderbolt. Baal will be holding a thunderbolt. He's sending the rain. See, the question of Baal is, where does my prosperity come from? Where does my blessing come from? Where do my crops come from? Where do my kids come from? And in a land that was totally dependent upon rainfall for your stinking survival, the temptation to run off and just kind of pay your dues to the regional god Baal is a massive, massive temptation. What happens under Ahab is that Baal worship becomes the national religion of Israel. Over time, worship of Yahweh, it literally gets outlawed. Jezebel seeks to systematically wipe out the prophets of the I Am. Israel had become just like everybody else, only more so. From not like everybody else to just like everybody else. The question of Baal is this: where's the rain come from? Where's the rain come from? Who sends the rain? Now, right about now, probably more than a few of you are going, okay, Jeff, thank you so much, but preacher, I'm just kind of looking around. I'm guessing that not many of the people around me are going to run off this evening after they get out of church and go find a Baal statue to worship. So you think, we're kind of free and clear on this idol thing. Right? Right? Okay. We're going to rely on an old friend here. When I show you this picture, if you go, I think you've quoted him before, I'm going like, yeah, like 24 times. Okay, dude's name is Tim Keller, and he wrote this incredible book called what? Say it with me, called what? Counterfeit Gods. Counterfeit Gods. And deal with Tim Keller is that Tim Keller for years grew a church, planted a church and grew a church in New York City. Now think with me about New York City. City for the powerful, a lot of Wall Street, a lot of fashion, a lot of wealth. And speaking to a New York City congregation, he spoke about counterfeit gods. And he wasn't talking about Baal and Amun-Ra from Egypt. He was talking about the gods of money, sex, and power, the empty promises of money, sex, and power, and the only hope that matters. So let me read to you a passage that I've read before and will again. It's what Keller writes. He says, an idol is whatever you look at and say in your heart of hearts, if I have that, then I'll feel my life has meaning. Then I'll know I have value. then I'll feel significant and secure. If I have what? That. Now, my question, my friends, is this. What is your that? And it can be anything. Often a good thing that we turn into an idol by making a good thing the ultimate thing. Work, a good thing. Work to rescue your fragile self-esteem and your empty heart, the ultimate thing. Beauty, education, a good thing, and we turn it into the thing, if I get that, if I have that, then I will finally have value, then I will have significance, now I will finally be somebody, now I will be secure. And my friends, it takes an incredible amount of insight to identify what our that happens to be. Keller's take on this, he says, the heart is an idol factory. And we're much better off, instead of asking the question, I wonder if I have an idol, he says you're better off just assuming you do and trying to figure out what they are, or trying to figure out what it is. So I wrote a list, just a sample list here. Control. I have to be in control. I have to control people. I have to control situations, because if I'm in control, then I will have significant security, value. Don't raise your hand if this is you. Raise your hand if it's the person sitting next to you that you came with. Looking successful, the appearance of success. Financial security. I have to be the center of attention. Oh, no, I don't have to be the center of attention. I just need her attention. I just need his attention. If I get her attention, if I get his attention, then I have value. Then my life has meaning. Then I am significant and secure. Avoiding embarrassment. So you say, oh, no. My goal is never to get attention. My goal is to remain invisible. To avoid embarrassment at all costs. Physical beauty. Often these idols that we craft come out of moments of applause or moments of deep shame. I'm talking to a third grader wins a spelling bee. It's all mom and grandma can talk about. And you go, that feeling feels so good. So help me God, I will be the smartest person in my class. And you wonder why we flip out sometime in high school or early college when it says A, B minus. And it feels like it's the end of us, because somehow a good thing, academic excellence, became the only thing, or the ultimate thing. You overhear an aunt talking, and she says, if only she were pretty like her sister, and something in you dies. You go, so help me God, people will never see me as unattractive again. Often the idols that we craft come out of our moments of deepest applause, where we start hungering for something to be perpetual in our life, to the fix that keeps us going, or our deepest moments of shame. It seemed that everybody else was wearing new clothes that they bought in August in preparation for the first day. You were not only wearing last year's clothes, you were wearing your big brother's last year's clothes. And there's hand-me-downs that are Goodwill, trendy, vintage hand-me-downs, and then there's a difference between wearing them because you want to and wearing them because you have to. And you go, so help me God. And this deal about our look, our appearance, looking successful, it's everything. And if we lose that, we feel we've lost life itself. Now listen, the biggest gift I could give you right now is a moment of silence. Just to kind of go, Do you know what it is for you? If I have that, do you have any clue as to what your that might be? This is an important moment because often the first step in correcting spiritual drift is recognizing and admitting that we've gotten just a little lost along the way. And being able to go, oh baby, I know, I think my go-to plan, I think if I didn't have God in my life and worship God, in my weaker moments, I think it's that. I think it's that. I'd love for you to say something with me. It's just kind of like, be able to point at something. Because see, these are unreliable at best as assessments of your value and assessments of your security and your significance. They are unreliable at best and demonic at worst. Unreliable at best, and these can destroy you if you go all in on these for long enough. So the ability to look at something and go, you might be good, but you ain't God. For some of you, the value of saying this out loud would be important because you haven't used bad grammar in decades. And just be able to say, you might be good, but you ain't God. Can you try it on for size? Ready? You might be good, but you ain't God. New parents, you waited for this child. You love this child. You do everything you can to keep that child safe. Be able to look in the eyes of that baby, that infant, that 3-year-old. You're good. Whatever you do not turn that child into Jesus. That child will have enough pressure in life without having to rescue your fragile self-esteem along with it. They'll say, you're good, you're a gift, and you're on loan. Jesus was the one who said, I have come to seek and to save the lost. And whatever joy comes with you in this family, you did not come to rescue me. I will love you, I will raise you, and someday it's our responsibility to release you. You're good, but you ain't God. Often an idol comes from taking a good thing, savings, education, work ethic, and making it the only thing that matters. The seduction of a counterfeit God is powerful. And the question that we attempt to ask is the same question that they were asking back in the days of Ahab and Elijah. And the question is this: who sends the rain? Where does blessing, where does peace, where does joy ultimately come from? Who sends the rain? And in the days of Ahab and in the days of Elijah, the clear, resounding answer was, we have this memory of this Yahweh I am, but we're sort of into this Baal thing too. And we think the rain comes from Baal, the weather god. You might go, I can't believe the Creator put up with that. Welcome to our third memory. It has to do with finding home. Very next chapter, chapter 17 of 1 Kings, begins with these words. Now Elijah, the Tishbite, from Tishbe, was where Tishbite would come from, in Gilead, said to Ahab, as the I am, Yahweh, Jehovah, as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, who I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years except at my word. You want to work the Baal program? You want to bow down to the rain god? Let's just see what happens through your ongoing Baal worship. He's saying, if you want to go in on this idol, I'll let you. I am praying that the heavens will stop their rain. this doesn't connect with us like it would connect with them. They couldn't irrigate in Israel. You could irrigate in Egypt. You could irrigate in the Persian Gulf area with the Euphrates River. You didn't irrigate in Israel. You were totally dependent on the rain. Just some images here. Grain that grows the bread you eat depends on the rain. Olives that you harvest from your orchard in order to make olive oil, and cosmetics and oil from your lamps, it depends on the rain. The flocks that graze in the fields and need to find enough grass to eat before it all burns to the ground depended on the rain. And Elijah is the prophet of God who shows up, and God is speaking through a megaphone of Elijah, and he is speaking through a bullhorn of drought. And he's calling the whole Baal thing into question. Soon, and just the image here, here's Ahab in his brand new capital, in his royal robes, with his royal wife. And here's this guy in camel skin and a leather belt who walks in, says, "It will stop raining." And then the voice of God comes to Elijah and says, "Right about now, you need to run and you need to hide." And he does, which is where our message will pick up next week in chapter 17, when drought starts to burn through this land. What's at stake? What's at stake is that the Creator desires so much to be known that when the whole plan and program tipped upside down, he is willing. He is willing to send a drought to help us find our way back home. Jesus would come hundreds of years after this, right? One of Jesus' famous stories is a story of the prodigal son, right? And a lot of you know the plot line. His dad's got two sons. One is older son, younger son. Younger son comes to his dad, says, "I want my cut of the inheritance. I want it now." Dad gives him this cut of the inheritance. It says he went up to a faraway land and starts to just burn through this cash on wild living. So you kind of use your imagination on that one. Son hits this point where he's broke, and a famine hits in that land that he took off to. And literally, he's like starving to death. There's this powerful, powerful moment where the younger son says he came to his senses. How in the world did I get here? I took a left and then a right and then another left and then another right. What am I doing here? The powerful statement where the son says, "I will return to my father." I'm going to say, I blew it. I just really messed up. And as the story goes, Jesus tells, when the father sees his ragged, skinny kid off in the distance, he runs to him and embraces him, and he has a welcome home party for his runaway. So let's talk about finding your way home. The prodigal son's statement, "I will return to my father." What if that's the only prayer you have today? It's simple and it's unsophisticated. But what if, as you scan the terrain of your life, and as soon as you heard the words spiritual drift, you just went, "Oh my goodness, I don't know how I got here. I don't know what I'm doing here." What if you just offer that simple prayer, "Father, I need to find my way back home." What if you just offered the simple prayer, "I will return to my father"? See, there's this words that come to us from the Bible that says, draw near to God and what? Anybody know how that ends? Draw near to God and what? And draw near to God and he will draw near to you. Recognize a counterfeit God for what it is. Just recognize it when you're lost and you know it. And even if you don't have steps 1 through 8 in how to get back home, the simple thought, I need to go home. I need to return to the Father, is enough to begin the journey. And so we ask that our gracious God would use this time powerfully in our lives, that he would mold us and shape us and transform us into the people we were created to be, into the people that we were chosen to be, into the people that we are called to be. Rescued for a reason. We ask this in the name of Jesus our Lord, who came here for us. Amen. We'll see you next week.